I would like to welcome Sharon, Steed. She's here with us. She owns a consultancy that talks about, what it really does is it helps businesses become more collaborative and more empathetic in communication. And with as much as we're always talking and in lots of different channels, it's an incredibly important topic for this group, and that's why we invited Sharon to join us. So Sharon, the time is yours.
Thank you. All right, so this is a talk on communication, and I can't talk about communication without first telling you that I stutter. And stuttering has taught me things about communication that I would not have ever learned if I was a fluent person, and I am going to explain that. This is me when I'm around 3 years old. I know, I'm adorable. And this is around the age when I began to stutter. However, that's pretty normal. Something like 75% of kids who are this age stutter. And they usually, by the time they hit around 5 or 6, it just kind of goes away. And so the parents were just like, hey, it's fine. Like, she's going to be fine. And by the time she hits first grade, yay, it'll be gone. So as I got older, though, I finished up, junior high, and I learned how to drive, and I went to college, and I applied for jobs, and I woke up one day, I was 26, 27, and one, I'm still stuttering, and that's awful, and two, I had figured out that I was pretty terrified to talk to people. A lot of people that stutter have pretty complicated relationships with the way that they speak. And so a lot of the times I would want to say something, and the words that I wanted to use just weren't coming out. And so I would have to change words in my head, or I would just not talk at all. And so I came to a place in my life where I knew that, me not talking was kind of a big problem. I have been a consultant for almost 10 years now, and the only way to get clients is to, talk to people. And so I knew that I had to face this fear. So I decided to face it in the biggest way I knew how, and that was to pursue public speaking. And because of this, my entire view on communication completely changed. So the first thing that I want to tell you is that communication should be a very empathetic act. The problem is that it's not. And how I'm going to explain this to you is by showing you how we typically approach conversations and how that approach is pretty much wrong. So, this is you, and you're just, thinking about things that are happening in your life or the pending, implosion of the world as we know it, simple things, and then you are like, hold on, I have an idea. So this is you, this is your idea, and you don't want to brag, but you think that this idea is a pretty good idea. So you think about it. You think about how you want to present it. You think about the words that you want to say, and then you think about how you want the person to feel that you're going to tell your thought to, right? And so you get super excited. You're talking to this person, and you just know that they think that your idea is going to be the best idea that they have ever heard, and you're pumped until you're done talking, and they're just kind of like, okay, great, And you're pissed because you know that your idea is a great idea, and you're just like, I don't understand why you're so mad about this. And so the reason why you are pissed about this is because you're not trying to have a conversation. You just want this person to think that your idea is the best thing since this guy right here. And that's the problem with the way we approach conversations. So, so how do you change this, right? You have to think about the other person. You have to be very empathetic. So, the reason why empathy is so important is because it fuels connection. And if this is true, then it's also going to drive a collaboration. And when it comes to building teams and building companies and building, really cool products, the most important thing that you can have is collaboration. However, we have a couple of problems here. The first is that collaboration in 2017 is done pretty much on the internet. And this is really cool too, though, right? Because tools like Slack and Facebook and texting, those things, they help us feel more connected. They help us to share things pretty easy. They also help us to build a common ground. The problem, though, is that when you're just typing away on a computer or on your cell phone, the person that you're talking to isn't a person. They're a username, or they're an avatar or a Twitter handle. And because of that, because it's not an actual person that you're talking to, the empathy that you that you have to have is going to be lost. So, here's a truth here. Technology can't take the place of face-to-face communication. And here's another truth. The failures of a communication that we experience can't be automated away by technology. Like, we have to face these things face to face. So we have to talk to people. But here comes the other problem. We don't like talking to each other. And I'll be the first to admit, I hate talking to people. I would prefer to text you because talking is just extremely hard because conversations are hard and collaboration is hard. And because of that, collaboration fails. So, let's break down why collaboration fails so we can then know how to fix it. So, the two big reasons why collaboration fails is because people are afraid of being incorrect or wrong, and they're afraid that people aren't going to completely comprehend the things that they're trying to say. So let's first talk about the fear of being wrong. Because all this is the fear of being judged. Have you ever been in a conversation with your boss or with your coworkers and you've had an idea that you wanted to share, but you chose to not share it because you were afraid of being wrong, you were afraid of being judged? That happens to pretty much all of us, right? So, how would it feel if that fear just wasn't there, right? How would it look if you worked on a team where you weren't afraid to just speak your mind because you knew that you weren't going to be judged. So the other fear here is that people aren't going to understand you. And I know that the people here can completely understand this because you guys are all, technical people, and you probably have to deal with people that don't, completely understand the technology that you guys are trying to explain, right? And so instead of trying to, take your time and explain these things, you just don't even bother because it's just going to take too long and people probably just aren't going to understand you. So the way you fix this is to speak up. and to encourage the people on your teams to do the same. Because silence kills collaboration. There's another thing to keep in mind here, and it's that paying attention to what other people on your team have to say that's going to truly enhance conversations that you're going to have. The next thing that you want to do is think about the listener. We're all on different planes, intellectually, in terms of our maturity, and that's okay. Speaking to people on their level doesn't do anything to compromise the level that you're on. And finally, you are going to want to think about this speaker. You know, I know how difficult it is to, pay attention to a person who is struggling to communicate, their ideas. However, patience is the best tool that we have to help encourage collaboration and to encourage more effective communication. So when you discuss ideas from a place of great empathy, you are going to create bigger and better things that you couldn't have ever come up with on your own. And that takes vulnerability. The vulnerability to, sometimes embrace silence or say something that you're not totally sure is going to be received well. It also takes courage, and that's the courage to pay attention to someone that's really struggling to hit their message across. The only way that that you're going to be truly effective communicators is if you are truly empathetic communicators. Thank you.